Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. My name is Ed Kless, and I'm here with Gail Perry, who is the editor-in-chief of CPA Practice Advisor, both the website and the magazine. Welcome back to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.
Thanks,
Gail.
Ed. It's nice to see you in person.
Yes, my line is it's good to be seen, not viewed.
Yes.
And I used to mean that in the sense of viewed as in your funeral, but now I mean it as in viewed as in on Zoom. So,
yeah, nice.
But it is really good to be seen. What have you learned about the CPA profession in the last 18 months?
Let's see. I have learned that they are actually able to embrace new technology even when they thought they couldn't. And I've learned that their clients are surprisingly able to embrace technology even when CPAs thought they couldn't. And I guess in general, I've learned that we're all kind of here for each other, and now we know it more than we did before.
Yeah, sure. The line I've been using is that the CPAs were truly the front line of the business world. I mean, I don't mean to equate them with people who were dealing with COVID patients in hospitals, but in a sense, from a business perspective, that's the function that they really served in all of this, and I think they did an absolutely admirable job.
I think so too. I mean, some jumped into it more than others, but I think across the board what we're seeing is that, and it may be proved here while we're here in Vegas with a lot of technology around us, but I think that accountants are okay with doing new things and giving things a try that they just didn't want to do before.
Yeah. But they had to, and then because I talked to a tax guy who was absolutely insistent. This is about 4 weeks before COVID hit. It would be impossible for us to work remotely. Mm-hmm. Really, because then 6 weeks later he was completely working remotely.
Right,
so,
had no choice.
Yeah.
And people who felt, I can't deal with my clients because they're older and so they don't know how to use technology, and so I have to see them in person and hand them their tax returns and get their materials in person, and they don't know how to upload, they don't know about portals, they can't deal with all that, and then all of a sudden everybody could pretty much deal with it. And that said, I mean, I have a tax practice too, and I did have clients who came to my front porch and would knock on the door and wave through the window and leave their envelope and then run. But for the most part, and especially when I'm sending them what I have back to them through a portal or through a secure link, they're much more open to it now once they try it. And if you give them enough instructions,
sure.
Here's how to do it.
Yep.
And if you have any questions, call me, or even walk them through it on the phone while they're doing it for the first time. It's not so hard.
My mom is almost 80, and she can upload a photo to Facebook. Mm-hmm. And if you can do that, you can upload a PDF file of your bank statement.
Yeah.
Right?
It's still all magic to a lot of people.
It is magic, but they can do it.
Yeah,
right?
They can buy into the magic.
Yeah, they buy into the magic. They're not sure, they don't understand the technology of how that works, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's a black box or the cloud. It's literally the cloud.
Yeah. And it's kind of like turning on a light switch. That's magic.
Yeah.
If you don't understand the physics.
Yeah. Who is the scientist? Any sufficiently advanced technology would be perceived as magic, right? So
true.
Which is So what do you think? Where do we go from here? Now that we've arrived here, we're seeing potential for the new normal. Do you see a regression, or do you just see advancement?
I see mostly. I think there's a middle there too.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I see, because it's the accounting profession. I mean, there'll be some at both ends of that spectrum, but I do see people wanting to get back in the office, wanting to work together in person, at least on a flex sort of schedule, willing to let their clients come back in person if the clients want to do that, but also willing to provide online services and opportunities to share documents virtually. I think obviously there are going to be some firms that really embrace it, and other firms that are like, oh, phew, we can get back to the old way now. But I think for the most part, I'm guessing that your standard small to medium-sized accounting firm is going to become more hybrid.
Sure. So, Gail, what did you learn about Gail in the last 18 months?
I learned that I kind of enjoy being at home. And I used to spend so much time traveling to conferences and vendor offices and visiting people in the profession. And I mean, the other day I was counting up sort of the average number of weeks I used to spend on the road before COVID, and it was a lot, other than during tax season. And even then there were some, but it was a lot of weeks. Maybe on average a couple weeks a month, where at least part of the week I was on the road. And haven't been able to do that for a year and a half. It's been great. I have 2 adult kids, and each of them have spent, several months with me since COVID started, and being able to have that is priceless. And, my husband and I get along.
So it was a preview for possible retirement. You're like, hey, we're going to maybe be able to make this work.
But we haven't really discussed that. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it's worked well better than we thought. And I mean, if we had been told you're going to have to spend 24/7 for the next year and a half together, we might have stepped back and said, whoa, let's talk about that. But instead, it just happened, and it's been great.
So. Well, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, Gail, who's a hero of yours, and why are they a hero?
Okay, so I've been on your podcast before,
yes.
And I've answered this before, and I'm going to stick with my go-to answer,
totally fine.
Which is my hero in the profession, in my professional life, is Ron Eagle, who most recently was known as the president of the Information Technology Alliance.
ITA, yep. Mm-hmm.
But prior to that, he worked as the sort of technology czar at George Olive and Company in Bloomington, which is now BKD. And when I worked at Olive, I had 2 jobs. I worked in the tax department as their state and local tax pro, and then I worked for Ron introducing technology. And this was when we were really introducing technology both to the accountants in our firm and to our clients. And he and I built a training center where we offered classes both to firm members and clients, and I wrote all the training manuals for that, and that evolved into writing books about technology, which evolved into writing for newspapers and accounting journalism, and that got me to where I am today. So thanks, Ron.
There you go. And lastly, Gail, how can somebody get a hold of you?
You can find me at Perry, Gperry, at CPAPracticeAdvisor.com. You can find me on Twitter at GPerryCPA, and LinkedIn, Gail Perry CPA.
All right, Gail Perry, Editor-in-Chief, CPA Practice Advisor. Thanks so much for being a guest once again on the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.
Thanks, Ed.
Review and subscribe by searching your podcast player of choice for Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.